welcome to The Pulse with Peter B. I'm guest host Nicoletta Ayala. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. Today's show is brought to you by Liberty Board of Realtors. You can find out more information by heading over to the link on the bottom of your screen. And today's show is also brought to you by The Dream Project, which you can also find more information by heading over to the link at the bottom of the screen as well. And joining us is our Places Insider, Zaria DeLucia from @Hoboken Eats. What's up, D? How are you, my girl?
Happy to be back. Happy to be back with you, of course.
Me too. So today we're actually going to talk about Green Rock Tap and Grill.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. And they're located at 70 Hudson Street.
Yep. All the way downtown.
All the way downtown. So I've actually never been. I'm pretty sure you have. You're a vet there.
I have frequented it quite a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk.
It's a nice, easy, when I was commuting into work, it was a nice, easy stop for dollar beers on a Friday evening. Yeah. You can't beat Friday. You can't beat dollar beers any time of the week, but Fridays make it like extra special.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, and weekends, I mean, Sunday fun days, and this was all obviously pre-COVID when it was known as being like pretty wild, a wild time. But they are doing their due diligence with COVID these days. But the funny thing is people think of Green Rock as like going to, get drunk, party scene, beers, which definitely is. But what people don't understand is the food there is so good.
Let's talk about that.
The food there is,
because I'm gonna let you go, but I kind of went.
Rev it up.
Yeah, I went on the menu and I'm just like, okay, for future reference, what am I gonna try? And I got a couple things, so maybe we'll compare notes.
What sparked your interest?
Okay, so the first thing was the Tavern Burger. I don't know if you tried that.
They have quite a lot of burgers on their menu too.
So that one is just the 8-ounce burger, smoked cheddar cheese, peppercorn bacon, fried pickles, and bourbon barbecue sauce. So
love it.
I'm a wine gal, but bourbon will be my next choice of drink if I had
if wine's not available,
right?
Bourbon
or whiskey, But that just I'm like I want to go right now. I want it. It sounds mouth-watering. It sounds filling. It sounds just different. It's not just your average burger.
And you haven't even had the fries that come with it yet.
No.
That's a whole nother situation.
No. So what burger have you tried?
So not the burger.
Okay.
I'm more of like an order every app.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of the buffalo chicken dip.
Ooh.
It is so good.
Okay,
I've had quite a lot of it along with those dollar beers, I have to be honest. It is absolutely delicious. They have these cheeseburger lollipops, which is like,
that was on my list next. Oh my god. Yes, go ahead. Take your day, girl.
The cheese, bacon with I think it comes with a spicy ketchup. Absolutely phenomenal. And what is so people don't realize about Green Rock is the creativity that goes into their menu. Absolutely. They've evolved it a few times since I moved into Hoboken a few years ago. They are doing their due diligence to make sure that you have a good time, but they're also making sure that you are eating well.
Correct.
And I just feel like sometimes that gets lost and people don't realize that. And I'm a big proponent of going there for food. They also just launched their brunch menu.
Ooh.
Yes.
Have you gone?
I have been. They have.
Let's talk about brunch now.
Because who doesn't love to brunch?
Right, I know. I love to brunch.
They have a little bit of everything for the brunch menu. They have your avocado toast, but then they go into the breakfast wings, which have sriracha and maple syrup on them. They have breakfast empanadas, which are Taylor ham, egg, cheese, fried, and an actual empanada, and it's so freaking good.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Chicken and waffle sliders.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm like, oh, that's like bam bam. That's like 3 different things. I'm like, oh
and that was
my
all
god.
in one day, and that was the best day ever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the sliders are just so drenched with maple syrup, literally just so good. And the chicken, I was it was like a spicy sweet chicken too, so that had flavor. Everything just had so much flavor. We did actually get the breakfast burger there, so it came with an egg on top.
Okay. Ooh.
Fantastic. Okay. They also have eggs Benedict.
Love me some eggs Benny.
So good. Breakfast hash.
what about drinks wise? Are they like mimosas?
They full bar will do anything.
Okay.
I'm a big beer girl when it's time for beer. So I usually get something on tap whenever we go there.
Okay, yeah.
But they can do it all. It's like sometimes like the DJs of North Jersey. So
right.
they
make
all
God.
those kind of drinks
yeah,
too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now if you had to, pick a restaurant that was similar to Green Rock, what would you?
Ooh,
so
in my opinion, Green Rock is one of those like standalone restaurants and bars in Hoboken. I think food wise, they offer your somewhat. No, I don't want to say typical bar food, but they add a twist to it. So you can think of like
wings and
yes,
boom.
So you can think of like Black Bear, Texas, Arizona, Wicked Wolf, like Pig and Pear, all of those downtown bars.
Right.
But they're adding like
a flair to it with
a bunch of burgers. They're adding like 6 tacos to their menu. They're adding appetizers that other places don't have. They're adding the brunch that is like handcrafted. They have a partnership with O-Bagel. They got to bring the bee sting sandwich that O-Bagel and Steven over there just created, and now it's on Green Rock's brunch menu. So it's very cool. When I say that Green Rock is creative and they're collaborative in the food that they're doing, like they realize that O-Bagel makes bomb sandwiches,
which by the way, way off topic. I've had I think it was the Beehive, right?
Yeah, the bee sting.
Bee sting. Yeah. Phenomenal.
Fantastic. Steven's a genius.
So it's so funny. I was walking down. I actually went there, and I off topic, but I actually went there. Had the bagel breakfast sandwich thing, and I couldn't wait to get back to my destination. I had to eat it on the way going to the destination.
Oh my God, I can't imagine how that was. That's a mouthful.
It was
that
messy.
bagel.
It was messy. So that's actually good that they were able to do that, and
yes,
Green Rock's able
cross promotion a little bit, like it
and support each other too.
And that's the whole point, especially right now. Like businesses supporting businesses is all you can really ask for.
Absolutely,
in our town. But literally, if I can leave anyone with a thought for Green Rock, it's you got to go for the food too.
Absolutely. And I think Hoboken's a good area for food. On top of amongst other things as well.
It's a good place to drink and it's a good place to eat. And this place gives you best of both worlds.
Exactly.
And now that we're coming up to the warmer months, they do also have outdoor dining.
Okay. Yeah.
They have their indoor dining. They obviously you can't the bar situation's tricky. They have
right, you
can't
go up to the bars more or less, but you're still within the surrounding area. So that's always good. Good ambience. You need that.
Yeah.
All right, Daria. Well, I was glad speaking with you. I'm glad we were able to do this, and we gotta head over to Green Rock.
I know. Can't wait.
I feel like we always gotta try a lot of different places.
I know.
We have a list we have to try
now that
together.
every time we talk about something,
right. It's just like add it to the list.
We gotta
add it to the list.
Another one.
Another one. All right, girl. It was good speaking with you.
You too.
All right, folks. We'll be right back.
Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching the Pulse with Peter B, and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. Peter Biancamano back in the host chair, and we're joined by an extremely special guest. And I say that every week, Tim, but I mean it this time, or sort of. We'll see at the end of the interview, right?
Yes.
And we're joined by Tim Smith, who is the executive producer of the documentary called Rigged. And I know I have to say this to the audience, Tim, but Tim was my favorite male senior producer at MSNBC when I was just a little production assistant there. But what Tim will tell you was he was the only male senior producer there as well. How are you, sir?
Correct. I am very well. It's good to see you, and great to be in Hoboken. I've never been here before.
I know you're a Connecticut guy.
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, though.
That's right, Princeton, right?
Right. Jersey boy.
That's
Jersey
it, Jersey boy. So you're coming back to your roots, Tim.
Yeah, back to my roots.
Exactly. All right, Tim. Rigged the documentary. Boy, I feel like you created this 4 years ago now, I believe.
Well, we started it back in the 2016 election, and we finished it about 2018.
2018. Okay. Right. And I feel like it's more prevalent now than you probably could have ever imagined. Correct?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we hoped it would go away, but it obviously looks like it's voter suppression, voter restriction laws, everything the film talks about. Voter fraud is bigger than ever.
Let's talk about voter fraud, actually, because it's so prevalent. I mean, with former President Trump, obviously. I mean, he literally had millions and millions of people believe that the 2020 election, where he lost to President Biden, was a rigged election. Was it, Tim?
Well, according to people who kind of are nonpartisan and know about elections and sort of survey elections, it was the cleanest, best election ever run. There was very little voter fraud. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but it certainly doesn't exist to the degree that it changes elections. There have been a number of sort of surveys and done looking at voter fraud. It always comes up as sort of an infinitesimal number. And it does not change or influence elections.
There's no evidence, correct?
There's no evidence, and Trump didn't come up with any evidence.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about voter suppression, which the film highlights in great detail, more than voter fraud, I think. And, we are in New Jersey, which is a very clean political state, and we're neighboring New York. Do you think voter suppression exists in New Jersey and New York?
Well, and also we can throw in Connecticut, the tri-state region. And the interesting part is all three states are democratic states with democratic legislatures, democratic governors. The interesting thing is there's been no early elections. I think New Jersey now has it.
Correct. Yes.
And New York just added it. Connecticut does not have it.
Right.
So it's interesting that you have these democratic states where you don't have early elections and, the polls aren't open before Election Day. So that's voter suppression to a degree. Mm-hmm. And the thing that's interesting about politics is they only change the laws when they think it's going to help them. It doesn't matter whether Democrats or Republicans. So when we talk about voter suppression, it's obviously not sort of a Democratic thing or Republican thing. I mean, both parties have done it in the past. Obviously, the Republicans seem to be doing a lot more of it these days.
Interesting. Well, I tell you what, we do have a clip for the audience, so why don't we show it really quickly from the documentary?
Hey, if you care about vote fraud, we're fighting it. We could use your help.
I know a girl who votes 8 times and has $1 million in the bank and is on food stamps and gets everything for free, including college.
How do you know she votes 8 times?
Because we know her. She does.
Would you call me later after the election?
Republicans saw an opportunity where they could go into states and build this notion of voter fraud, get people scared about it, scared enough that they would create new laws that would heighten the threshold to qualify to vote and make that qualification so difficult that it would suppress voters. And not coincidentally, people who would vote against them. It's just a very well-organized, well-staffed, well-resourced operation that once they get an idea, they can spread it like a dandelion.
Fascinating, Tim. I mean, it seems like you put a lot of work into it, but it's very, very interesting. During the clip, basically, can you comment on the over 250 new voter restriction laws that are being proposed in many of the states that Biden won, such as Pennsylvania and Georgia, that have Republican legislatures?
Well, this is, and we talked earlier about voter fraud. Voter fraud is used as the excuse for these voter restriction laws, or, quote unquote, they call them voter integrity laws. Again, sort of it's a canard that you have voter fraud, so they use that to sort of bring these laws into effect. For instance, in Georgia, they want to do away with souls to the polls, which is basically used by black churches to take their parishioners to the polls on Sundays, in early voting. There's nothing against it. We should all, as Americans, be for the fact that, the more people that vote, the better. But, they want to do away with that or sort of limit the number of Sundays that you can do early voting. Obviously, again, I come back to Connecticut. There is no Sunday early voting in Connecticut, but, Georgia has had it in the, and obviously many of the other southern states have it as well. And they're trying to do away with it because they don't want the black voters going to the polls because, hey, they vote Democratic.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the takeover of the U.S. Capitol by hyper-partisans on the right, as they say, or the Republican side. Those people believed that the election was rigged, and they were going to go through hell or high water to try to stop, which is just a formality, which is basically just counting the Electoral College votes. So is this a troubling precedent that shows that the myth of voter fraud will not just disappear now that Biden is the president?
Yeah, it's not. Not only is it not going away, but it seems to be getting worse. Obviously, they believed Trump, who said there was voter fraud. And during the election, they gathered around where they were voting in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. They've gathered around where they were counting the votes in Detroit. It's just, they're not going out to Wyoming. They're not claiming there's voter fraud in Wyoming. It's always in sort of these urban areas where there are a lot of, non-Republican voters.
Exactly.
That's where the voter fraud occurs. And it's just, and again, it's demographics. I mean, basically, the country is moving towards becoming a plurality non-white country. I mean, I think in 2018 was the first year that more non-white babies were born than white babies.
Wow.
And it's going in that direction. And the Republicans basically, had a choice after they lost in the election in 2012. They did this so-called, autopsy, when Romney lost, and they decided that they needed to appeal to these, this growing demographic of non-white voters. Well, sure enough, Trump came in 2016, and they threw that sort of strategy out and decided not to appeal to non-white voters and just find a way to stop them from voting.
Very interesting. Now, we have a couple minutes here. In terms of voter suppression, what legislation would you like to see being taken, whether at the judicial level or the executive level in years to come?
Well, as you know, there's H.R. 1, which just passed the House, which it basically would make Election Day a holiday.
Right.
It does a lot of other things. It sort of it would fight gerrymandering, which is another issue which we haven't discussed, but where sort of districts are basically arranged so that either the Republicans have so many votes that they can't lose, or Democrats are all sort of put into one district, so that's the one district that they allow them to have. So that has to be done away with, which H.R. 1 addresses. And now they're talking about passing that in the Senate and doing away with the filibuster. So there's a lot going on.
So much going on. All right, let's tell the audience where they can watch Rigged, the documentary.
Well, the full title is Rigged, the Voter Suppression Playbook, and they can watch the documentary. They can go to our website, which is www.riggedthefilm.com. It's also available on Amazon Prime. If you're a Prime subscriber, it's free. It's also available on Peacock, so if you can download that, and that's also free if you're willing to watch the ads. And we also are on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Nice.
And we just actually put up a short-form video on our Facebook site, which deals with voter fraud.
I mean, you have to watch it, ladies and gentlemen. It is more prevalent now than it's ever been.
Right.
And I was literally hooked to it. It was a great job by you and your team.
Oh, and one other thing, Jeffrey Wright is the narrator.
Of course.
Who's a wonderful narrator, and he did it for free. Great guy, really believed in the cause. So
wow.
he I think, brings a lot of gravitas to the film.
Kudos to Jeff Wright working for free. I mean,
Yeah.
Tim Smith, thank you so much for making the trek from Connecticut to New Jersey.
Thank you, Peter. Well, it's just,
Still my favorite male senior producer from my days at MSNBC. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure to be on The Pulse with Peter B.
There you go. We're going to have him do voiceovers
Yeah.
after this, I swear. All right, folks. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there. Welcome back to The Pulse with Peter B. And folks, the gentleman to my right, although looks like has a nice haircut today, it's as cheap as the whole outfit he's wearing, and that is our political analyst, Josh Sotomayor Einstein. Josh, how are you today, sir?
Well, with friends like you, who the heck needs enemies? That's what I want to ask the viewers.
There you go. There you go. Well, how are you?
I feel like an abused spouse. That's
There
what I
you
feel
go.
like. Just
All
verbally abused, thank God.
All right, Josh. Well, I tell you, something that we've been abusing a lot on the show has been the 2021 Hoboken mayoral race, which, of course, is taking place this November. But the calendar now says April. And the following statement I haven't made ever while talking about this, and I know you're going to disagree with me, but I think in the last few months, Mayor Bala is the clear front runner to get reelected.
Well, I'm surprised that you know what month it is, not just because of my low estimation of your intelligence, but also because of COVID times. I don't even know what day it is right now. That said, I think Mayor Bala gets a lot of credit from a lot of people that he doesn't deserve for merely existing as the mayor during this time of crisis and shutdown. But for the thinking public, which may or may not be small, I guess we'll find out, they can see that he's just merely been in office while federal funds from the Trump administration and now the Biden administration have been distributed, and he's been at every opportunity, every photo op, every news station to try to get in front of the cameras as if he was Hercules saving us, or Xena Warrior Princess, because women should have power too, and it was a great show, fighting off these evil monsters. Yeah, I'm a nerd.
Just a little bit.
So more than a little bit, but Xena was a great show. But anyway, I would rather see Councilman DeFusco or just about even almost anybody else on the council other than Phil Cohen as mayor, and I think almost anybody else, even people in Bala's camp, would be a better mayor. I think he's particularly bad when you strip away his many media appearances and you actually look at the policy, and then when you look at the full frontal total warfare that he fights politically, I don't think that he's been a good mayor, and I don't think he's good for the political climate in Hoboken.
Well, I'll tell you what I would like to see, and that's some competition for Mayor Bala. I mean, how many times have we spoke about Councilman DeFusco wanting to run for mayor, and has not made a move yet. Again, the calendar now says April. What is the holdup?
Well, I mean, I can't speak to what's going on in Councilman DeFusco's brain. I can barely speak to what's going on in my own brain. I never know the words I'm going to say before I say them on this show. But
glad you admit you have a problem. Now time to fix it.
I will say, yeah, at least I admit I have a problem. So I will say that rather than some of the other council people that have been there a long time, and I'm not going to name names, everybody knows who they are, that perennially stick their toe in of running for mayor and then retract that toe when the winds blow a slightly a different way than they thought it would happen, or after a poll, decide to back out. At least DeFusco, Councilman DeFusco hasn't been dipping in and then dipping out. He's been, it's seemingly from the outside, waiting for the right time. I don't know what calculation that it is in his camp or if he's going to pull the trigger, but it definitely beats dipping in, dipping out like a lot of people have done.
But here's why I think there is a holdup in Councilman DeFusco's camp, and you have other people, and we can mention them. Councilman Ramos announced that he was going to run, opened up some sort of elect form or what have you, and decided to back out. And this is a Pulse exclusive, folks, because many insiders know this in Hoboken, but not many people are political insiders.
I don't even know what he's going to say next.
I generally believe, and we were both told this by several different people, that Councilwoman at large Falco, is the holdup right now. Because, of course, she ran with Councilman DeFusco 4 years ago, won her council at large seat, but is having hesitations about running on his ticket again this year. I think which caused Ruben to try to announce and try to muddy the waters a little bit or try to bring it all together. Thoughts on that?
I don't know anything about that. I do know that, on a personal level, I think Councilwoman Falco is just a swell, wonderful person. On a policy level, I think none of them are good, but she's one of the least bad. Let's put it that way.
Josh's opinion, I think differently, but go ahead.
This is an opinion show. But yeah, so I think policy-wise, she's one of the least offensive, and occasionally has some good ideas that she's backing, whereas most of the council is just the opposite of that, or even much worse. I don't know what's going on in their coalition, but they have a little bit of time, not too much time, to get their act together. I think as more time goes on, people are used to rallying around the person that was physically present during a crisis. I mean, look at one of my favorite presidents, George W. Bush. When 9/11 happened, even Democrats that had previously called him, Confederate, racist, bigot, et cetera, the usual things that Democrats call Republicans, they rallied behind him. It's not that they agreed with the policy. And so COVID's a little bit different because it's like the never-ending story, except that was a good movie, and this is a horrible time we're living through. But it is also never-ending.
But it is a testament to Councilwoman Falco. I just want to go back to this point, because if the holdup from Councilman DeFusco is that he wants to make sure he has his council at large slate in line, and Councilwoman Falco is hesitant about running with him again, I mean, it's just showing how popular and strong she is.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, that I've met that has met her likes her as a human being. So she's definitely a popular figure. She definitely has pull, not just with the born and raised community, which I think is one of the best communities. But
which I belong to.
Okay, one of the best communities, except for this guy to my left. Okay, what are you guys doing with him? Just kick him out. So I understand why people would listen to her if what you're saying is true. But something I think is interesting, and it's about elections in general, or not in general, but the Hoboken mayoral election, is that a number of members of the council recently were urging the New Jersey Attorney General, whose name I can't pronounce.
We'll just call him Attorney General Gurwal.
Okay, so that's how you say it. Yeah, I have problems with names that aren't Jewish names. I'm very Jewish. Okay, they wanted him to investigate into the racist flyer that helped Bala win the last mayoral election, because the Attorney General Gurwal is investigating a racist flyer in, what was it, Edison, New Jersey, I believe?
Middlesex County in Edison, correct. Yep.
So that was actually seemingly done by the people that it was targeting. And the only person to benefit from that racist flyer targeting Mayor Bala was Mayor Bala. So, I think it's interesting that the Attorney General is investigating one, but not the other. And also, I believe the Attorney General and the mayor at one point were friends, or they went to the same university, something to that effect. But we have a new mayoral election coming around the corner, so to speak. I don't think we'll see any shenanigans like a midnight flyer again. I don't think you could pull off that trick twice in the same town and so close in terms of cycles. But it's definitely going to be an exciting time.
All right. We have a few seconds left here, Josh. My question to you is, do you believe that if what we're hearing from insiders about Councilwoman Falco is true, that she runs on Mayor Bala's ticket as an at-large candidate?
I don't know if that's plausible, but in politics, anything is possible, and a few seconds isn't enough for me to speak about anything.
There you go. Well, Josh Sotomayor Einstein, our political analyst every week here on The Post, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you when your hair grows out a little and it looks as cheap as your suit. So.
I look forward to having a new guest host that isn't this guy.
All right. Well, thanks again. Folks, today's show is brought to you by the Liberty Board of Realtors. You can go to the link at the bottom of the screen for more information on them. And the Dream Project. Visit our friends at the Dream Project by visiting the link also at the bottom of your screen. Thank you for joining us this week. Join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. Have a great week, everybody.
The Pulse with Peter B. is a proud partner of Eyes on NJ.